Today, we will explore a deeply emotional story, one that underlines the complexities of familial relationships and the scars left by parental expectations. Our protagonist, Connor Vance, faced the relentless winds of comparison during his formative years, with his younger brother Liam constantly perched on a pedestal. To say that the Vance family upheld a standard of success would be an understatement. The family was a stage, adorned with the accolades of Liam's achievements, while Connor quietly faded into the shadows, striving for recognition in a world that seemed indifferent to his existence. As the elder brother, Connor had long grown accustomed to the relentless chorus of praises showered upon Liam. From a young age, their parents, Arthur and Evelyn Vance, angled every family gathering to pivot around Liam's latest triumphs. Whether it was a school award or his rapid ascension in a challenging finance career, Liam was the star performer, the golden child whose career trajectory seemed to paint the canvas of their family narrative. Each promotion he received was celebrated with hushed tones of reverence, further amplifying the unspoken competition that loomed over Connor. With Liam's recent promotion to a highly coveted senior analyst position at a prestigious investment firm, the stakes elevated significantly. Arthur and Evelyn began to vocalize their desires for Connor, almost echoing the demands of a publicist crafting a flawless persona. They expected Connor to mirror the traditional milestones of success that Liam effortlessly embodied. "Why can you not strive for what your brother has achieved?" they would say, their voices laced with a mix of frustration and desperation. This desire to see their sons remain parallel in their journeys shackled Connor, tightening a noose around his individuality and aspirations. At family gatherings, it became painfully clear that Connor was more of a background character to their ideal narrative. As Liam regaled family and friends with stories of mergers, soaring stocks, and exciting acquisitions, those interactions only reminded Connor of how little he was seen. He felt like an imposter in his own home, a silent witness to the overt admiration bestowed upon his sibling. Even well-meaning relatives exchanged glances filled with unspoken pity, subtly reinforcing the belief that Connor simply fell short. Despite the unyielding pressure, Connor's heart pulsed with dreams that diverged sharply from the corporate hustle that celebrated Liam. From an early age, he had been captivated by the idea of purpose-driven entrepreneurship. The ethos of sustainability and ethical production danced in Connor's mind, providing a glimmer of hope against the drab world of stock markets and profit margins. His dreams did not seek the glitz of high finance. Instead, they longed to weave narratives that revolved around the earth and its preservation. In his heart, he held a vision of creating a business that championed eco-friendly products, a venture he envisioned calling Greenhaven Goods. However, the moment he began to nurture this dream, he found himself trapped in the realm of familial expectations. It filled him with doubt as he replayed the memories of his parents, dismissively laughing off anything they deemed unconventional. He fought the tide of self-doubt both day and night, questioning whether he could defy the well-trodden path that his parents seemed to endorse so adamantly. Yet the flicker of hope in his vision grew stronger with each passing day. Thus, during yet another family dinner, armed with trepidation, Connor resolved to share his entrepreneurial aspirations with Arthur and Evelyn. It was a moment filled with hope, albeit wrapped in anxiety. Would they grasp the depth of his dreams? Would there be even a fraction of understanding in their responses? Connor braced himself for their inevitable anticipation, casualties of the age-old family narrative. Yet, little did he know, this conversation would become the catalyst for an emotional confrontation that would shape the course of his life. It was time to choose, to remain shackled to his parents' expectations, or to pursue a path that echoed his true self, even if it meant risking the love of the only family he had ever known. While the world around him celebrated the glinting facade of corporate success, Connor's heart whispered a different truth, one rooted in purpose and authenticity. Connor had always felt a strange disconnection from the corporate machine that his parents idealized. His brother Liam was climbing the corporate ladder with unyielding zeal, basking in the accolades of their parents, but Connor was wrestling with the shackles of a life scripted for him by others. A quiet flame flickered within Connor, fueled by a childhood fascination with sustainability and entrepreneurship. It was not the cutthroat realm of finance that captivated him, but rather the notion of creating something meaningful, something that contributed positively to the world. The seed of an idea began to germinate in the recesses of his mind as he envisioned a business that celebrated ethical production and environmental stewardship. Named Greenhaven Goods, this venture would focus on eco-friendly home essentials, each product a step toward reducing humanity's ecological footprint. While working for a small batch goods company, Connor learned valuable lessons about product development, craftsmanship, and the intricate web of sustainability that binds consumers to the consequences of their choices. It was during these formative years, amongst the earthy scents of natural materials and the vibrant hues of eco-conscious products, that he honed his vision for Greenhaven goods. Every experience, every interaction, seemed to propel him closer to the realization of a dream that felt not just like a business idea but a calling. But with this newfound clarity came the challenge of sharing his vision with his parents. He understood that their expectations loomed large, a dense fog that clouded the air around every family dinner. Connor had witnessed time and again how they praised Liam's achievements, praising his corporate milestones while dismissing his own ambitions as mere hobbies. Nevertheless, hope flickered within Connor as once again, he prepared to reveal his dream to Arthur and Evelyn. During one fateful family gathering, with his heart pounding like a drum in his chest, Connor mustered every ounce of courage he possessed. The dining table was laden with culinary delights, but the real feast lay in the clarity of his dreams. It was an ideal time to open the conversation to approach his parents with the grace of a man on a mission. He shared his meticulously crafted business plan, articulating his vision for Greenhaven goods with unwavering passion and conviction. "What if," he began hesitantly, "we could create a brand that not only meets the needs of environmentally conscious consumers, but also fosters a sense of community around sustainable living?" He poured his heart into the explanation, the principles of ethical manufacturing, the unique products that remain gentle on the earth, and a business ethos that promoted transparency and integrity. He spoke about how his brand could challenge conventional notions of wastefulness through innovative design and eco-friendly materials. As he shared, however, he could feel a shift in energy at the table. The laughter around the dinner table dampened, replaced by an uncomfortable silence that hung heavy in the air. Arthur and Evelyn exchanged glances that spoke volumes of disbelief and condescension. "Connor," Arthur finally said, his voice dripping with skepticism, "that sounds charming, but it also sounds quaint. We need to discuss the realities of business. And this is not the right path for you." His dismissive tone cut deeper than Connor had anticipated. Evelyn chimed in, her well-meaning intentions laced thick with patronization. "Sweetie, you could consider philanthropy instead of trying to compete in a tough market like this. Your brother has shown us what it means to succeed." With every word they uttered, Connor felt the walls tightening around him, closing in like vines suffocating a once hopeful tree. Their laughter, once innocent, now echoed as a cruel reminder of his place within the family hierarchy. In that moment, it became painfully clear that vying for their approval would lead him down a path of self-betrayal. "Why can you not strive for what your brother has achieved?" Arthur Sepp's harsh inquiry struck a nerve, a question steeped in disappointment. "Focus on something that can provide for you, Connor. Consider a stable career, one that demands hard-nosed acumen rather than whimsical dreams." Beneath the surface of their words lay a disheartening expectation. The unyielding desire for conformity had drowned out the need for individuality. The cavernous divide between their visions became evident as Connor's dreams were trivialized, relegated to the realm of fanciful distractions. Yet concurrently, a fierce determination ignited within Connor. This could not be the end of his story. He held on tightly to his aspirations, knowing deep down that he was not defined by their expectations or the success of his younger brother. With a heart brimming with sadness and resolve, Connor recognized that the path forward would require more than just courage. It would demand breaking free from the very chains that bound him to his family's narrow definition of success. In the stillness of that family dinner, he made a decision, a vow to pursue Greenhaven goods not only for himself but for the planet and generations to come. As he glanced around the table, his vision sharpened. As difficult as it would be, Connor was prepared to chase a dream that truly reflected who he was, regardless of the cost of disapproval. The road ahead was uncertain, but the flicker of hope in his heart had swelled into a blazing conviction. He would forge his own path, even if it meant standing alone. In the challenging landscape of family dynamics, Connor Vance stood at a crossroads, torn between loyalty and his burgeoning ambition. After sharing his carefully crafted vision for Greenhaven goods, he anticipated some measure of understanding, perhaps even encouragement. Instead, he found himself faced with the harsh reality of parental rejection. The chilling silence that ensued after he shared his dreams proved far more electrifying than anything else he had experienced during that family dinner. As Connor sought to articulate the spirit behind his venture, eager to convey his enthusiasm for sustainability and ethical production, he was astonished to find that what he believed to be a heartfelt plea for approval was met with skepticism and disdain. Arthur Vance, his father, leaned forward in his chair, eyes narrowing, clearly ready to dismantle Connor's aspirations at their very roots. "Connor," Arthur began, his voice laced with condescension, "while your optimism is commendable, this idea sounds dangerous. It is a charming notion to dive into the world of eco-friendly products, but let us not kid ourselves. The business world is unforgiving. You need to think more practically. The dismissive tone reverberated in Connor's mind, amplifying an internal conflict that had been building for years. The weight of disappointment hung heavily in the air, wrapping around him like a suffocating shroud. Unable to hold back the scars of his childhood, he searched for words that might change their minds, but his father continued to lay into him. And honestly, what do you know about running a business? Your brother Liam has shown us what it takes to succeed in a high-stress environment. The mention of Liam felt like salt in an open wound, a perpetual reminder of the pedestal his parents had placed Liam upon, high, bright, and precarious. Evelyn, his mother, jumped into the fray, her tone dripping with false gentleness. Sweetheart, your creativity is admirable. However, have you considered exploring something more stable, like philanthropy? We want what is best for you. Yet her assurance felt like a veiled dagger, her words meant to belittle Connor's entrepreneurial spirit rather than uplift it. Furious disappointment surged through Connor. The very notion he brought forth, an idea driven by purpose and authenticity, was dismissed as little more than whimsical fantasy. He had envisioned a business that could contribute to a healthier planet, yet here he sat, being chastised for dreaming too big. The irony was palpable. Instead of nurturing his vision, his parents were stifling it, reinforcing the familiar hierarchy that had dictated his worth since childhood. The intimate space they had gathered in, which once seemed to brim with possibility, felt now like a gilded cage in which he remained forever trapped. Connor could feel fire igniting within him, a yearning to shatter the expectations that had been unceremoniously thrust upon him. But each attempt to assert his conviction was met with waves of scoffing incredulity. Do you think the world needs another quaint enterprise? Arthur's voice rose as he cast doubt on Connor's capabilities. Your brother has proven himself in a real industry while you seem satisfied with playing the make-believe SEP. The stakes were unmistakably clear. Connor was being pushed into a corner, with the threat of disownment looming large. The chilling reality hit him with ferocity. If he chose to pursue his dreams, he would not only face the disapproval of his parents, but he would also risk losing the family ties that so often felt conditional. Connor, Evelyn continued, her tone insipidly serene, we do not want to see you embarrassed in public or ridiculed by those who value success. The pressure was palpable, pressing down on him like an anvil, heavy with the expectations of conventional success. In their world, a world defined by financial achievements, prestigious titles, and extravagant displays of success, Connor's ambition felt small, even laughable. As the weight of their derision bore down upon him, each word felt like a chisel carving away at his resolve. With heart aching and determination stirring like a hidden spring, Connor recognized the gravity of his situation. It became painfully clear, pursuing his dream was not merely a matter of choosing a career path, it was a decision to sever ties with the expectations that chained him to a version of life he never wanted. Once again, Connor felt the flicker of resolve burning brighter. It was no longer just about building a business, it had morphed into a fight for his identity. He could forge his path, despite the cost of potential familial rejection. In the chilling tension of that moment, Connor knew he could no longer let his worth be dictated by their approval. As the family dinner drew to a close, Connor felt a profound shift within. The tension wrapped around him now loosened its grip, transformed instead into a fierce, unfurling courage. With memories of painful dismissals swirling in his mind, he decided in that moment that to pursue his dream was worth the risk. He would not allow their views to mold his own. He would embrace the unknown. And with that acknowledgement, he chose to stand firm in his commitment to Greenhaven Goods, even if it meant walking away from the family narrative they had woven around him. As the months turned into years, Connor Vance found himself in an unexpected battle. Having resolutely severed ties with his parents over their inability to accept his dreams, he realized that the path of entrepreneurship was far more arduous than the traditional corporate ladder they so passionately endorsed. However, through this adversity, Connor began to cultivate a deeper understanding of his ambitions and himself. In the early days of launching Greenhaven Goods, every moment felt like standing at the precipice of uncertainty, endless possibilities swirling below like a tempest. Connor was driven by the firm belief that he could create a sustainable business model centered around eco-friendly products. The vision was clear to redefine what success meant, not in the conventional sense of income brackets and corporate accolades, but through the lens of ethical production and sustainability. Initial financial strains were daunting. Connor had invested nearly every penny he had saved into developing his eco-friendly home essentials line. Each day was a struggle. Clients did not come knocking on his door, orders were far from consistent, and the bills unfortunately kept piling up. Yet through the ups and downs alongside these tangible struggles, a quiet voice blossomed within him, one that murmured words of encouragement that grew stronger with every small victory. Then, just when frustration began to consume him, a glimmer of hope pierced through the clouds. A significant eco-innovation grant he applied for, the kind that evaded him for years in the corporate sector, was awarded to Greenhaven Goods. This financial backing was not merely a lifeline. It was validation. It signified that the world recognized the value in his vision. From there, the momentum picked up. With newfound funds, he expanded his product range and began to establish connections with angel investors who shared his fervor for sustainability. As seasoned entrepreneurs saw potential in his work, Connor discovered the intoxicating thrill of being supported by like-minded individuals who championed purpose-driven ventures. Each meeting, each small victory forged a sense of confidence within him that had been lacking during his turbulent upbringing. Meanwhile, life was blossoming on a personal front as well. Connor dated Maya, his partner who had stood by him through thick and thin during those challenging initial stages. Over the years, their bond had grown stronger, with Maya believing unwaveringly in his vision even when others did not. 3 years into their marriage, they were now expecting twin girls, a joyous development that further ignited Connor's motivations to succeed. Despite the absence of his immediate family, Connor forged connections with extended relatives, including his Aunt Clara and cousin Ben. They remained in touch frequently, offering updates on their lives, while occasionally conveying the longing that lingered in their hearts regarding the estrangement with Connor and his decision to start his own venture. Clara and Ben would share that Arthur and Evelyn occasionally inquired about how Connor was faring without ever reaching out directly. While his heart ached at the distance, there was solace in knowing that not everyone was lost to the favor of parental expectations. "Look how far you have come," Maya would gently remind him, often coaxing him to share his stories of progress. Together they celebrated milestones, filled with laughter and gratitude for each step taken toward making Greenhaven a respected brand. The once daunting hurdles began to transform into triumphs. Connor no longer sought validation from his parents, nor did he measure his worth against Liam's upward trajectory in the finance world. Instead, he discovered a deep sense of empowerment in achieving something he had built from the ground up, a venture that stood for values he cherished. Through Greenhaven Goods, he found contentment in pursuing not just a career, but a purpose that felt wholly unique to him. This journey had affirmed him. He was more than just Arthur and Evelyn's son, and more than a comparison to Liam. He was Connor, the creator of a business that gave back to the planet in sustainability's name. As he prepared for the arrival of his daughters, Connor felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. He envisioned sharing the values of empathy, sustainability, and authenticity with them, a radical divergence from the upbringing that had shrouded him in expectations and comparisons. This is what family can be, he thought, warmed by the promise of new beginnings. With each passing day, the fulfillment of living a life true to his values overshadowed the lingering pain of parental approval. In those quiet moments, as he sat in his modest office, surrounded by samples of Greenhaven's products, he realized that he had found not just success but a deeper connection to who he was meant to be. And in that connection, he understood the love he sought, the validation he craved. It could be cultivated from within. As autumn settled in and the leaves turned golden brown, the world seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of change. For Connor Vance, life with his wife Maya was blossoming. Their small, eco-friendly business, Greenhaven Goods, had reached a crucial tipping point. The tipping point that Connor had once desperately dreamed about, but had never imagined would feel so rewarding. Over the years, he built a flourishing enterprise aligned with his values, surrounded by genuine and authentic relationships, including those of friends and extended family who supported his journey. Yet, just as his life seemed to stabilize and birth new beginnings, the familiar shadow of his parents resurfaced. It began with a terse email from Evelyn, slipping into Connor's life like an unwelcome chill. "We hope this message finds you well." The email started, its formality almost suffocating. She quickly moved on to praise Greenhaven Goods, suggesting that he had indeed surprised them with his unexpected success. There was strange dissonance within those words that felt off balance, like a cheerleader with no vested interest in the game. These insipid attempts at praise felt hollow to Connor, who had already endured the weight of parental expectations and disapproval all those years. It was not genuine curiosity or affection that drove them to reach out. Beneath the surface was a desperation veiled in civility. Soon after, they requested a phone call, arranging a meeting that left Connor tense and apprehensive. In his heart, he prepared himself for a flood of emotions and vulnerabilities, the complexities of a long-simmered hurt that had become part of his identity. Still, he hesitated. Part of him wanted to bind the wounds of the past, but part of him was wary of stepping into a bear trap again, one that had captured his spirit one too many times. Eventually, he picked up the phone, and there, in the sterile tones of the receiver, was the echo of his father Arthur's voice, a voice that had long echoed this success, but never sis love sis or then or standing. What a journey you have been on, Connor. We must admit, we underestimated you, Arthur began, failing to mask his condescension as they began to transition into a backhanded request. A request that soon morphed into a demand. Connor needed to consider hiring his brother Liam at Greenhaven Goods, what they termed a director role. Arthur touted Liam's supposed vast business expertise, as if carving a niche with those words would cause an awakening. Connor felt the air around him grow thick. Initially, he merely raised an eyebrow at this twist of fate. Liam, now struggling and burnt out, was offered a lifeline at the expense of Connor's values. The sheer audacity left Connor flabbergasted. They had tried to suppress the very aspirations Connor had nurtured for years, yet sought to compound their manipulations once more. Feeling a tidal wave of emotions crashing over him, Connor took a deep breath. Memories flooded back, the countless times he had been compared to Liam, how his own dreams had been relegated to the outskirts of his father's pride. Why was he now being asked to lend a hand to someone who had perhaps unknowingly benefited from the same favoritism that had once suffocated him? As a father-to-be with a growing family and ambitions, Connor knew he could not entertain their request. Evelyn, Arthur, I appreciate that you see value in my company, but Liam simply does not have the experience that aligns with a role here, he calmly articulated. My business is rooted in authentic sustainability, and I cannot compromise that vision for a temporary fix for Liam. He needs to understand and find his own path. Their response was incendiary. A rush of insults and regretful accusations flooded the line. They hurled accusations of ingratitude, asserting that they had only meant to support him all along. We raised you. We gave you everything, Arthur shouted, his voice a mix of anger and defeat. Connor found clarity within that storm of words. You were never about supporting my dreams. You were merely invested in your image, he retorted. You speak of this, everything says, as if that absolves you of the pain you inflicted by comparisons and conditional love. Your manipulation stops here. Finishing the call, Connor felt an unexpected surge of relief. He hung up and blocked their numbers, tears streaming quietly down his face, but with a strange sense of liberation, having finally closed the door on a chapter that left scars on his heart. As the sun dipped below the skyline, casting a gentle orange hue that fell upon his workspace, Connor found solace in the reality he had built in Maya, their blossoming family, and Greenhaven Goods. The emotional turmoil that had shadowed past decisions ceased to possess power over him, and the weight of their past criticisms slowly washed away. Strengthened by these affirmations, Connor was determined to move forward. Treading on the protocols of his own making, Connor felt love pour in from those who genuinely cared, those present in his honest moments, and those who would embrace his daughters with an openness he never experienced growing up. Whether with relatives like Aunt Clara or Cousin Ben, or through the growing network of like-minded friends, he could create the atmosphere of love, acceptance, and understanding for his new family. While navigating the waters of complex family dynamics, Connor Vance found resolve in his decisions, reaffirming that happiness must stem from authenticity, compassion, and genuine connections rather than the chains of past expectations. At that moment, he understood, family could be redefined by those who truly cherish and respect one another, and a new era, a new family legacy was about to unfold. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey through Connor's transformative life. If you found value in this story of resilience, family dynamics, and personal triumph, I invite you to give this video a thumbs up. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced similar challenges? How did you overcome them? And if you want to delve deeper into stories of growth and authenticity, do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Together, let's continue exploring what it means to live authentically and inspire change. Until next time, embrace your journey and cultivate your own path of purpose. Take care, everyone.